I mentioned that there are different types of tubas and that not all tubas look the same. And so this tuba may look more like the tuba that you're playing. First of all, it's not very shiny. This one's a little bit older and has some dents and some scratches in it. Still plays fine. It's a very good instrument. This has the other type of valves. My valves have little buttons on top. They go up and down. Those are called piston valves. These are called rotary valves. And it has a little paddle like this that you push down. Now, the reason we call it a rotary valve, if you look carefully, you'll see when you push down a valve, there's actually something that spins around over here. It moves like a rotor. Piston valves move up and down. Rotary valves move around in a circle. They play the same. If I push down the first paddle here, the first finger here, it's the same as pushing down the first piston on a piston valve instrument. You don't have to learn how to play differently if you have rotary valves. Rotary valve instruments do take some extra care though because of all the moving parts. Look at that again. If you push down a valve, look at all the different parts that move. And it's very important to keep those safe. If any part gets damaged, that rotor is not going to turn, it's going to stick, and then the instrument is just basically unplayable. So you have to be extremely careful with what you do when you're playing a rotary valve instrument. The positive side of playing rotary valves is that they don't take a lot of day-to-day maintenance. You don't have to oil these valves very often. They really shouldn't stick once an instrument is about a year or two old. This one's a lot older than that. You can tell just by looking at it. So I would say that these valves don't need a lot of maintenance at all. And that may be something that maybe your band director or one of the assistant directors or a private teacher can take care of for you because it's kind of a difficult thing to do. If you are responsible for keeping your own valves oiled, we do it a little differently on a rotary valve instrument, and I'll show you how that is. The most important thing in here is the moving parts, which are mostly down here. This part that sits on top that actually spins, this is called the spindle. And there's a special kind of oil that you can get, and you can tell because it has a little metal needle on it. And you're going to put some oil right inside that spindle, right down in here. That's the point where it actually contacts two different surfaces, and that's where we need to get some oil to make sure that continues to spin. So if your valves are sticking a little bit on a rotary valve instrument, that's one thing that you can do is get some of that special spindle oil. If you don't have any, your band director should have some. Take it into the band office and have them help you with this, and you can put it in there. Now, if it still sticks, there's actually a spindle on the other side as well. Let me flip the instrument over. These are hard to find because they're on the back side of the instrument. But you have these valve caps back here. And if you unscrew one of those, you'll see that there's another spindle in there. There's another one in there. This one's easier to see. And you just put a couple drops of oil on there as well. Again, this is something you may not want to mess with yourself unless you've been instructed by your band director to do this with your instrument. It's probably best to leave it to someone else. One thing you should never try to do is to take the rotary valves apart. It takes a lot of special training. You need a specially trained instrument maintenance person who can take those valves apart. Your band director may have the know-how and the correct tools to do it, but you certainly don't, so you should never try to take these valves apart. So the most important thing to remember with rotary valves again is to be very, very careful with all of this assembly here. If you're going to set the instrument down on the ground, don't set it down on the valve side. It's very likely to bend something here. Always set it with the valves up when you're setting it on your lap and when you're setting it on the ground. Be very careful with that, and don't do any kind of maintenance with these valves unless you've been assigned to do so.